Hello and welcome to another day and another video, graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form, Chapter 2, Lesson 3 on page 64 in your blue books if you want to follow along. Today we're going to be talking about graphing equations in slope-intercept. Two things that we need to know, or three things for that matter. Number one is the x-intercept, and the x-intercept is the point where a line crosses the x-axis. Okay, so for it to cross the x-axis, y has to equal 0 because you're not going to go up or down at all. So the x-intercept is this point right there where that line crosses the x-axis. And remember, the x-axis is the one that is horizontal. Okay, the y-intercept, in contrast, is the point where a line crosses the y-axis when x is 0. So this point right here is the y-intercept, wherever a line crosses the y-axis. And we don't go over left or right at all, so x is 0. Then we have slope-intercept form, which is a way of writing an equation of a line, and these letters mean different things. Okay, the y in slope-intercept form is the y-coordinate, so however far we're going to go up and down. The x is the x, of course, and then we have these m and we have b, which both stands for different things. To note, the b, let me write this, the b is the y-intercept. And this might not mean much to you right now, but it will in the following slides, I promise. The b is the y-intercept, or where the line crosses the y-axis. The m is the slope of the line. And from last lesson, we know that that equals rise over run. Okay, so once again, the b is the y-intercept, and the m equals the slope. And when you're in this form, it's called slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, right? Y equals mx plus b. Here we are given a form, an equation in y equals mx plus b, and we are asked to find the slope and the y-intercept. Remember, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, we have our y, we have the equals, and then we have a -4. Okay, the -4 is where the m goes. So that is our slope. Okay, remember rise over run, where it's going to go down 4. And to the right, 1. Okay, so this part right here, the -4, is our slope. Then, the b was equal to the y-intercept. And our b in this case is this -2. Right? You can think of this -2 as plus a -2. But it's still, you're going to be adding a negative, so they just put a -2. So it's, in this case, the line would cross the y-axis at -2. So we have found both of the things that we were asked to find. Okay? We found the slope, and we found the y-intercept. Same thing here. The only difference with this is that you're not in y equals mx plus b form. You're not in slope-intercept form. Right? So you need to get into slope-intercept form, and to do that, we need to get the y by itself. And so we're going to add 5 to both sides. So when we add 5 to both sides, we get y equals 3/2 x, and then we have plus 5. Now we're in y equals mx plus b form, and now we can easily find the slope and the y-intercept. Our slope is 3/2, or up 3 to the right 2. and our y-intercept is 5. So the graph of this line will go up 3 over 2, and it will cross the y-axis at 5. This one, why don't you try on your own. See if you can find both the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, we are in y equals mxb form, so you don't have to do anything with it, but just identify the different parts. The m is the part with the x, is the 3, so our slope is 3, and the y-intercept is the -7. This line is going to go up 3 over to the right 1, because the one's down here, we just don't write it. And then down here, the y-intercept, this is going to cross the y-axis at the point -7. So we have found both the slope and the y-intercept. All right, here's another one you can try on your own. This one is not in y equals mx plus b form, so you need to get it there. Pause the video and work it out. See if you can get it in y equals mx plus b form, and then identify the slope and the y-intercept. All right, this shows this equation in y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form. And the slope of the line is, or the m, is a -2/3. So it's going to go down 2 and to the right 3, because rise over run. And then it has a y-intercept of, if you said 1, you're correct. And what does that mean? Well, that means that this line crosses the y-axis at 1, and when x equals 0. All right, now they want us to actually graph the line. And we're doing the same thing. We just need to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is, and the slope. The y-intercept is 3, so I go up 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is where my line is going to cross the y-axis. And the slope is this part right here, which is a -3 over 1. And remember, rise over run. So it says a -3. I need to go down 3. So 1, 1, 2, 3. And I did go to the right 1, because my run is a positive. So right here, and this will be my second point. And then if I wanted a third point, I could just continue that and go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1, right here. And that would be my third point. And then I would do my best to put a straight line through it, like that. And now I have graphed this line that came from the slope-intercept form. Okay? What about something like this, where there's no numbers in front of the x? Well, there's no numbers that we can see, but there is something there. Pause the video and see if you can kind of figure out what you think it might be. If you thought it was y equals 1x minus 4, if you found that the slope was 1, you're right. All right? Because we could have y equals mx plus b. Well, m and the x are being multiplied together, aren't they? I mean, they're right next to each other, so they're being multiplied. And 1 times x would just give you the x that's up here, because 1 times x is x. So they don't write the 1, but there is a 1 here. So your slope is 1 over 1, and your y-intercept still is this part right here. Your y-intercept is a -4. And you've done it. All right, this is the last one that we need to do. Try to graph this one on your own on a piece of paper where you can draw your own coordinate plane, or if you have some graph paper. But take some time and see if you can work out and graph this equation in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, if you graphed it correctly, you should have a line that looks somewhat like this. And if you're wondering how I got it, let's go over it real quick. Well, first I need to identify my y-intercept, which is 1. And so my point has to be right there. And then my slope says to go down 1 and to the right 2. So I went down 1 and to the right 2. All right? And you might be asking, and you can keep going for a third point to check yourself, down 1 to the right 2. And this line should be right through that point. It's a little bit off there. But you might ask yourself, okay, you went down 1. What if you made the 2 negative and went to the left 2 and went up 1? Well, you should have the same thing. If you go to the left 2 and up 1, you're at a point. If you go to the left 2 and up 1, you're at a point. Okay? So it doesn't matter whether you make the top negative or the bottom negative. Just know that the slope of the line from last lesson is negative because we're going down from left to right. Okay? So just some things to remember and keep in mind is slope-intercept form is pretty popular. I mean, it's something you'll see for a while. So know it, commit it to memory, and that equals y equals mx plus b, where m equals your slope, and the b equals your y-intercept. Okay? I think that's about all we need to cover for this lesson. Hopefully it helped you out a little bit. Thanks for watching.